Good morning, everyone. This is Lucrezia, your local guide in Venice. Today, I'm in town to tell you about one of the most famous local festivals, is to say the Venetian Carnival. The carnival usually takes place in January or February, and it always ends right before the beginning of the Christian Lent. But despite nowadays it's famous all over the world, actually just a few people know that it was rediscovered just during the second half of the 20th century. When the Republic of Venice fell, in fact, and Napoleon took control on the city, all the celebrations were forbidden, and Venetians didn't celebrate the carnival anymore for about 2 centuries. However, the origins of the carnival are really ancient. The first written records about it, in fact, date back to the 11th century. And back then it used to last much longer than today, since Venetians usually began to celebrate right after Christmas and ended right before the beginning of the Christian Lent, is to say, the 40 days before the Easter. Of course, everybody wanted to take part to the celebrations that were taking place everywhere in the city, in the streets, in the squares, in the private palaces, but the only way to do that in total freedom was to disguise. In this way, in fact, nobody could judge you for your behavior during the celebrations. The only way to allow nobles, merchants, common people and servants to celebrate and have fun together was to wear a mask. That's when, in fact, the very first masks appeared in Venice. But although today, if people think about the Venetian Carnival, think about colorful and richly decorated masks, you have to know that the very first ones were actually very simple. They were usually made of paper mache or chalk, and they were usually white. Simple because in this way everybody could afford one. The masks that we can see in the shops today, instead, were born mainly in the 17th century, when the purpose of wearing a mask was not only to be anonymous, but also to show off. That's why, still today, they are so fancy and richly decorated. Today, I have a little surprise for you, and I'm gonna take you to one of the few workshops left in town where they still make their own handmade papier-mâché masks. Follow me. So today we are at Ca Macana, which is one of the most ancient shops in town, where they still make their own handmade masks.
Hello.
We are going to meet Eloisa, who is a mask maker. Hi Eloisa, how are you?
I'm good, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you. So tell us about you. How long have you been a mask maker?
So I've been a mask maker forever actually, because this is a family activity. I've learned how to make Venetian mask when I was a kid really.
So which are the most popular masks?
The most popular masks are definitely the bauta. The bauta is a mask that used to be worn back in the day in Venice. It was the most Venetian one. It used to be worn for up to 6 months a year. And it was a sort of a uniform that belonged to the aristocracy but also to the lower classes. Therefore, it was a mask that could represent anyone's identity, and behind it you were totally hidden and no one could guess who you were. So it didn't matter if you were a man, a woman, or a poor person or a rich person, everyone was the same behind the mask. Other than that, obviously, there is also the plague doctor. And the plague doctor was a mask that used to be worn in Venice as well during the 15 and 1600s, when plague was a big problem, obviously, for the city. And it used to protect doctors from the illness. That's what they thought, at least. They used to fill this mask, the beak, with herbs and breathe through it. Therefore, they thought that the herbs could purify the air. And also, it had a really scary aspect because they thought at the time that illnesses were brought by demons and by spirits. Therefore, the idea was also to scare them.
So I see here you're making a mask. So what's the secret that makes your masks so special?
Well, our secret is that we make everything by hand. Continuing the tradition, we really want to bring into the future our mask making. It's something historical and is worth doing, absolutely. Obviously have a wide range of decoration, which is something we do as well. We have adapted to the future. In order to make a Venetian mask, a traditional one, we start with a clay sculpture. As you can see here, you can make any sort of shape. This is the most traditional one, the bauta. Once you are done this part, which is obviously most creative because you can create any sort of shape, you pour on top some plaster that at the beginning is liquid, but then at the end becomes hard, and this allows you to have the negative of your mask. At this point you can throw away the clay sculpture and you can fill it up with many layers of paper. This paper is called wool paper, which is a mix of wool fibers and cotton fibers. You fill it up in this way, just using glue and adding many layers of it. Once you've done that and once your mask is dry, you will have this situation, and then you can extract it and you have your mask. On top of it, you color it in white, cut the eyes, smooth it down with some sanding paper, and you have your Venetian mask ready.
Great. And now you're selling your masks online as well, right?
We are, yes, because obviously we have to adapt to this year's situation mostly. We used to sell before COVID. This year we actually improved a lot our online shop in order to be able to reach visitors and tourists and people that love Venice all over the world, even though there is obviously a pandemic. So we're trying to push it the way, and people are appreciating.
That's great, and it's great that you're keeping up this beautiful family tradition. So thanks a lot, Eloisa.
Thank you so much.
And bye-bye from Venice. Thank you.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell notification icon so you won't miss any new video. And if you would like to do a virtual tour with me, make sure to visit www.secretvenicetour.com to see the tours that I offer. Also, make sure to visit www.camacana.com to have further information about mask making courses and follow their social networks pages to keep in touch with them. Ciao!